That's great.
So I normally introduce this by saying that Critical Connections, the mission is to encourage and enhance critical writing in ceramics. And our guest today is Grainne Watts from Ireland with her IT person, Tina Byrne. Yeah. And I don't do big introductions. I did send her website URL to all of you, so I'm sure you had a chance to look at her lovely work, her wonderful work. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, Grainne.
Okay, well, Tina's going to get me started here now on the...
Everybody needs a tech person.
Sharing is not turned on. Okay, hang on a minute.
Comes
Bear with
Anna.
us.
Can I, it's saying that we have to request sharing. Hi, Anna.
Yes, I do. Yes, it's good. I normally do that ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're okay.
We've got 2 for 1 up there, Anna. Did you see that?
2 for 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tina,
Oh, Tina, yeah, no, that's double trouble, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Double trouble, that's it, Anna.
Absolutely.
I'm going to disappear now and leave her to it so as I don't distract her.
Okay.
Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's
See the
black.
screen, okay.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Should we just that one?
Yeah. Okay. I'll scream if I need help. I probably will. Hello, very nice to meet you all. I'm going to start. This talk is basically just about my career, my journey basically, and how I got started and how my work progressed over the years. Now it's fairly condensed, so this is one of my largest, most recent work. So I'm going to start. This was my first commission, which I was given by an elderly friend of the family when I was 12. And I had started classes with a potter called Michael Jackson, of all things, who went to become one of Ireland's main kind of domestic ware throwers and production potters in the 80s and 90s. So he was my first introduction to clay. And then my mother took up ceramics, and when my father retired, they moved to County Wicklow and they set up a ceramics gallery there, probably in their late 50s. So when it came to going to college, I wanted to do graphics. And I thought I was very interested in illustration and possibly would have been interested in animation if it had been around then, the whole stop animation thing, but it wasn't. So I did 6 months in visual communications, but then decided I hated it, two-dimensional. It was too flat for me, and I went back into the ceramics department, and I've basically been with clay ever since. So when I finished college at 22, I started an apprenticeship with a functional potter, Geoffrey Healy, who was a contemporary of Michael Stoneware Jackson, he became. And Stoneware Jackson was based here in Bennett's Bridge in Kilkenny at the time and employed a lot of people. So I would have done 2 years apprenticeship and then set up on my own. I also started having kids. So my work was produced in and around 3 sons who kept me on my toes. So I was making a range of kind of slightly humorous. Some of my work was just directly functional domestic wear, and I made work for restaurants and that. And then I was producing these kind of illustrated mugs and bowls and things. A lot of it was influenced by having kids, to be honest. But I started doing a lot of the craft fairs here in Dublin and around the country. And that was where I mostly sold my work. And there was a huge appetite. You could make a nice living from domestic wear in the 90s, certainly. And it was good. It was, I enjoyed it. And then possibly stemming from my interest in illustration and having kids and being, reading to them, I started producing these kind of creatures. They started off as the handles on pots on a very small scale, and then they just took off and became independent sculptural pieces on their own. So I was making these beasts for a few years. I would make herds of them, and a lot of people were collecting them. So I have one woman who has something like 22 of them that she has bought over the years for her grandchildren and their children. And so she has a fantastic collection, which is great. She's really nice. These are bathers. They're figures about this long with wire legs and flippers and feet. And they were based on the sea swimmers in Dalkey in the 40 foot. It's where a lot of people go sea swimming. So they were kind of a part of the Christmas production, you know, but a bread and butter line was very important before my work started. The marketplace started changing, and probably around the late 90s, early 2000s, and domestic wear was most definitely affected and not as easy to sell. And these were some of the fish that I made. Some of them ranged in size from about, I don't know, you in inches? I'm still in inches. That's showing my age. Yeah, some of them were about this size, and then the very largest were that size. And I did these mostly for galleries and exhibitions, things like Sculpture in Context in the Botanic Gardens in Dublin, and a lot of the Ceramics Ireland shows. This was a very large groper. That was a private commission. He was about 70 centimeters in total. I really enjoyed making something that size. Scale was something I'd never had the chance to do, really. And I've also, I know this looks like a very disparate body of work, but it's 35 years, nearly 40 of things I've done. So yeah, the fish kind of migrated onto pots then, and I was making these in porcelain with washes and hand painting them with underglazes. So I started to move away from glazed finishes and getting into underglazes and color. And as a kind of an annual exercise, kind of a good for my soul thing, I used to go on holiday to the west of Ireland, and I would collect seaweeds and stuff and bring them back and dry them out and make these stone forms, burnished and then saggar fired with salts and coffee grounds and all sorts of things. And it was just a very nice, it kind of marked a break in the year, a kind of a holiday for me from work, but it was kind of a meditative thing to do. And I've always enjoyed it. I haven't done it for about 4 years now, 5 years. So I must do it again. These are small. And these are this was a kind of a rock formation that with kind of lichen on it that kind of inspired a body of work called the Accretion series, which were shown in Farmley Gallery here in Dublin in the Phoenix Park. And they were made in stoneware and then layers of kind of slip painted onto them and then washes of color and washed off as well. So this was a completely different direction for me, which I enjoyed. And these were kind of finer porcelain versions that had kind of blushes of color and much finer application of the slip.
We have one of those.
You have one of them. Yeah, I really enjoyed that process. It was good. And so a lot of the influences that are things that inspire me are based in the natural world around me, whether it's kind of, I have a lot of books on marine biology and color in fish and those little sea slugs, the nudibranchs, and yeah, it's amazing the kind of the things that seep into your vocabulary, your visual vocabulary as a maker. And it can be a piece of, you know, packaging or labels or anything. But these kind of kelpie seaweeds, the bladderwrack came from the west of Ireland as well. I took a lot of photographs of them, and they inspired this series of little porcelain vessels that I did. The inside of them has a kind of a lovely sea green celadon glaze, and then the outside of these raised layers of kelp and bladderwrack, which are nice. And they look lovely when they're lit inside with a candle or I've done some little lampshades out of them as well. So you kind of see the layers of that water etched kind of technique. And this was another similar vein, the porcelain. These were based on a series of shells that I found. So I did kind of drawings from them and just played around with building up layers of surface. And then possibly leading on from the stones that I made, I started making these large bellied forms, and I called them kind of Bindu series. They were Bindu was based, came from the Hindi word for dot, which you'll see. You've probably seen the dot work I do, and it just seemed to suit them. And I have been making these now for a while in various sizes, and they've now kind of migrated onto the wall as well, which has been a challenge. This was my old studio space, so it was very cramped, and I was limited to how much I could kind of produce in there and move around. So that was a space I shared with Tina in Wicklow before we moved here. So, and this is one of the finished ones, which is quite large. It's about 40, I think it was 50 centimeters across. And these pieces, that one was about 65 centimeters and is in a collection now. It's nice kind of midnight blues. I love playing around with the blues.
Is that one black slip?
These are all underglazes. So
Okay.
yeah, all underglazes. I haven't worked with slips really apart from the textural work. I discovered like the Amico slips are so stable, and you can play around with diluting them, mixing them to some degree of success. It's not always brilliant, but I do a lot of testing. I have a lot of test tiles where I play around with color combinations and that. So these pieces, when I started making more gallery-based work and doing a lot of commissions, I went to Ceramic Art London, which was a brilliant opportunity for me. And this was my first showing at it. So I got taken on by a few galleries, and that was great until Brexit happened. So that really has changed. It's made it very difficult to supply galleries in the UK now. There's so much paperwork, and yeah, it's become, it really, because I was kind of working towards supplying that market really, because they have such an appreciation of ceramics over there, and it's close to us here. So it was a kind of a natural progression for me, but now that has changed. So I'm kind of focusing more on mainland Europe, and I do send work sometimes to the States as well, mostly private commissions. So this was my showing there. And that was, they put me in the underground on their poster, which was such a thrill. It was brilliant. Every underground station you went into, one of your pots was there. It was
That's great.
got a huge kick out of that. Yeah. And these were some of the Vortex series. So they're kind of, I've always been interested, like the stones, in kind of pieces that go in on themselves and indentations and erosion. So I like the way especially the Amico velvet underglazes, they give you this love. It's like a contradictory surface. It looks soft and it's not, it's hard. So that it always kind of throws people, they look at the Bindu especially and they think, oh, they look squishy. They look like you could sit on them, but no, you can't. Yeah. And these were some of the floating vessels I did. They have kind of slightly rocking bottoms, and they can wobble a bit, which is nice.
Grainne, the one on the left, is that a double dot?
Sorry?
Is that a double dot, or does it shadow like that?
I like that. It kind of makes it move. So depending on the colors you put together behind each other, they can either kind of glow or vibrate. Like some people can't look at my work because it upsets, the dot thing. It can be difficult on the eyes. Indeed, I've driven myself mad while I'm decorating them,
Yeah.
But yeah, the navy dot behind orange, like really, it just pings, you know.
Yeah. Oh, it
Uh,
does.
And this was in the Galerie du Don Le Fel in France. So there was a really nice expo. They do exhibitions every year. They have 4 every year. And I was lucky enough to show with Bodil Mans. She's there in the background.
Mm.
And Nicholas Lee's there. So that was, yeah, I was delighted to be showing alongside them. They're kind of 2 of my idols. So yeah, it was great. And then our Ceramics Ireland exhibitions, I've like Tina and myself, that's how I know Tina and Elaine. We've been working together in Ceramics Ireland for years. I think I've been involved since my 20s. So it's a long time. And my mother was involved in it before that. So it's kind of in the blood. So I'm still involved. And we've put on these exhibitions in Farmley Gallery, these triennial exhibitions. And Tina produced these beautiful catalogs. I'm sure you've seen them, Elaine. They probably bought them to Sensica. They're really lovely. It's great to have these records of them. So these are some, this was a little installation on, you can see on the little yellow and orange pieces on the wall. They were some tiny little porcelain vessels, little vortex vessels. I think, oh no, sorry. Oops. That were wall hung. So that was a kind of a challenge. I wanted the fact that you could see them from the side, just playing around with the different angles and how you relate to them and interact with them. And this is the west of Ireland, which is my absolute favorite place in the world. And we still go down there every year. I go down with my siblings and now my grandson, and it's just something I have to do every year. I'm sure everybody has places like this, but yeah, special.
I have to step away and get Richard to stop making noise outside.
Okay.
Just continue.
I'll continue. These are some of the foliage and flowers down in the west of Ireland. This is just rampant. We call it Mombretia here. I think it's called Cocosia as well, or but the colors are just stunning. You can't photograph them well enough. And they inspired these. These were the little vessels that were on the wall. So it's just a grouping of them, of playing around with both tonal combinations and completely contrasting combinations of colors. That's a better picture of them. And this was a large wall piece, which was about 65 centimeters across. So that was quite a challenge. And it's yeah, because up to this, you've been looking in on the work on a plinth base. So this, having it on the wall, makes, you know, a very different statement. So, and it was quite challenging to work out how to hang it, because on all of my pieces, I decorate the back as well as the front. So it's just, yeah, I like to finish things off nicely. So that, yeah, hanging that was a challenge. And Gus Mabelson.
How do you hang them? How do you hang them, Grainne?
It's completely closed in at the back, and then I cut a circle out up around here above on the back, just where it flattens down on the wall. And I've inserted a thrown bowl that has it's kind of this shape, and it has a kind of a slight flange. That's inset into the back of it and sealed. Now there's a hole going into the inside of the piece. This is completely hollow. And then I got a local wood turner to turn me. It's basically like a doorknob that screws to the wall, and it has a kind of an edge on it. So you just place the piece on and it just hangs, and it seems to be very secure. So far so good.
Yeah.
They've stayed on the wall, and they're not light. But yeah, that one took me about 3 weeks to decorate. I kept having to take breaks, but funnily enough, my eyesight, when I had a test class, my eyesight had improved, which I thought was ridiculous. I said, that can't be right. I wasn't expecting that. So, and this is Bennett's Bridge, where we now live. Myself and Tina and Gus got together and bought a property here in Bennettsbridge. And the property we bought belongs to Michael Stoner Jackson, who taught me when I was 12. So this is what the full circularity is about. And he lives in the plot next to us, right beside us. And it's just great because there's always been ceramics here. And before ceramics, there was Simon Pierce, the glass blower. He actually built the building we're in where we have our studios. So it's a really, well, Elaine knows Kilkenny is a fantastic county for makers. It's just a wash with makers. So we're very lucky and we've lots of kind of good friends here. So I'm very happy. And this is the part of the studio building. I think when we first bought it, so we've had quite a bit of work to do because it was vacant it was with the bank in receivership for 10 years after Michael sold it, an architect bought it. So we've had a fair bit of work to do, which is taking a while, but we're getting there. And that's me outside my studio or my cottage, which is about 200 years old. It's also on the same plot. And Tina's house, Tina bought the farmhouse, which is across the courtyard behind my house there. So we both have big garden spaces, and then our studio is literally 10 seconds away. It's great, no commute. And this was the inside of my studio when we bought it, when we just moved in. We've put in, it looks quite different now. We did a lot of work, lots of new floors gone down and everything. So this is the work beginning. So we're here about 3 years now. So these are some of the shallower kind of floating vessels and the inner parts of them. So they're thrown in 2 parts and then trimmed and put together. And I dry them very slowly. I do a lot of sanding and stuff like that before I decorate. This is our kiln room where myself and Tina share a kiln, and we've done our own individual kilns, and Gus has a massive kiln to himself. And this is the view from the upstairs of my studio now. So I have a kind of a big window that I can open and sit looking at the trees. It's a really nice place to decorate. And this is my one of my kind of mood boards where I just stick things up that I'm interested in, or things that inspire me, or just that I like. And yeah, there's my parents down the right-hand corner. And my mum is still alive. She's 98. No longer interested in pottery at all. So yeah, bless her. Yeah. And these were some large oval pieces that I've been working on over the last kind of couple of years, year and a half. So they're still evolving. They've been problematic. Yeah, they're not an easy shape to do, and I haven't quite got them the way I want them, but I just keep plugging away. These are some of the finished ones, and they're all wall pieces. So that was just the inside of the back of one. I initially didn't close in the backs of them, but I didn't like that, so I now close in the whole back. And I showed these recently up in the Royal Ulster Academy up north, the RHA there, not the RHA, the RUA. They had a big exhibition there. So one of them won an award, which was very nice to get the recognition. And this is just some shots of different pieces being decorated. So I usually work on a few pieces at the same time. So.
Wow.
And this was a porcelain vortex vessel that was part of we have the Royal Dublin Society, the RDS, where the famous horse show is on here in Dublin. And they used to run an annual craft competition, which was one of the first competitions I ever submitted work into as a young maker. And it was something you aspired to as you were moving your way up your career. And so they held an exhibition and produced a series of commemorative stamps, postage stamps, and they used this piece for one of the stamps, which was a huge honor. It was great. The competition is no longer in existence, which is a pity, because it was a wonderful kind of inspiring thing or aspirational event for a lot of makers. And this is just one of my pieces drying outside, with the use of an inner tube from a tractor to support it, which is really handy for the big Bindu pieces. So I inflate it every time I need it because it takes up too much space. And this is Tina's residency. I just thought I'd put in a picture of it's the studio behind me, but this is Tina's house on the bottom left-hand side, and some images of, that's Eleanor Swan. She did one of the first workshops here. And yeah, it's going really well. So she's a good program for this year. And yeah, it's great. The whole place is becoming a kind of a hub, which is really interesting. So I think it'll just keep getting better and better. And when I showed it home, when I showed at Ceramic Art London, the Home of Faber owners, I met them at Ceramic Art London. Jean Blanchard is there behind the thing. So I was invited to show at one of the exhibitions, which was amazing. I don't know if any of you have been to it in Venice. It's on every 2 years. It is so worth a visit because it's just all the applied arts are there and from all over Europe, and it's absolutely mind-blowing. Yeah, it's great. So it was great to be there. Sorry, that's a close-up of one of my wall pieces. A little bit blinding.
Wow. That's all, folks.
That's all, folks.
We have two of these little figures too that
the bathers.
Yeah.
So I just have to figure out how to stop sharing now.
Oh, yeah. Just go up to the top.
Oh yeah. There we go.
There it is.
Okay.
Yeah. And
so
yeah, we'll get some discussion going here, but I enjoyed the connection between the article that you sent, and I particularly liked the licking of the stones, because those that were fired, the stones you made that were fired with the found materials, brought me back to that description in the article that you sent. And I've been to their place near Kilkenny, and I spent a week there, I guess a year and a half ago. It's amazing. It's what all of us as we age dream of, being in our own quarters, but being able to, like, because Grainne's home faces Tina's home. So if Tina's out in the patio, Grainne knows that Tina is open to company, It's just the perfect kind of thing that we think about, that we want to have people around us, but not in our quarters. So, and then Gus, who owns a studio at one end of the studio building, was the director of the pottery skills course in Thomastown for years and retired, and so he bought a place there with them, and then Elaine Reardon, who still teaches in Limerick, is there most weekends, or probably all weekends, and sometimes during the week. She's there right now. So it's just the perfect kind of place, and she has a portion of Tina's home, and so it's just amazing. It's what we all want as we age, and then all the good work going on, and the workshops that are going on, and it's really incredible. So again, the studio space, or the residency space, is Strata.
Sorry, I forgot to mention the name.
It was on the image that you showed.
On the image,
But
no, I'm incredibly lucky. I mean, I couldn't have landed somewhere better, really. Finding somewhere to live that you could afford, and massive studio space as well, has been.
That's great.
Yeah.
So as I was reading the article, and I'd love to have everybody join in here, but as I was reading the article, it said that your reason for leaving graphics was that it was too tight.
I
And yet
know.
what you do right now is so tight. I thought,
I know. Yeah.
and in
Yeah.
so many ways is two-dimensional. I mean,
Yes.
you're doing it
Yeah.
on volume, but it's you're playing with it as a two-dimensional space. And
Yes.
and so I would love to have you comment on that and whether you've looked at that as well.
I think I've always been drawn to detail, to really and things that are beautifully finished. And I think that is just something in me. And I think that was why I liked illustration. And yeah, but it's definitely something I would love to be freer with my work, but it doesn't seem to be
Yeah.
something in me. Yeah. So I have, this very, I mean, then the doing the dotting, it is very meditative, but yeah, I don't know. I don't seem to be able to kind of break out of that, wanting to have things kind of really nicely finished and neatly done. And, I can't loosen up. I think that big fish was the loosest thing I ever made.
Oh,
Really.
except for that
And
first
that was,
little piece that you showed.
yeah, well, that was tiny. I mean, I was 12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then
It's funny. Yeah. A lot of the work I admire is the complete opposite of what I do, like I
Yeah.
love,
Oh, yeah.
So it's,
But
I
there
think
is a sense of loose whimsy about your pieces.
yes.
Although they're tightly rendered, there still is a whimsy about some of the work.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you have a whimsy about you.
I'm afraid I do. Yes. I can't do anything about that either. Yeah. And I think, the whole thing of being inspired by nature, it's very difficult. You don't want it to be, the kind of the actual subject of the stimulus, I suppose, in nature. You don't want that to be too obvious, nearly. It's a kind of a thin line to kind of play around with that. So that's something that works sometimes in some things better than others. Like I think the porcelain things are very obviously kind of seaweedy inspired, but the Bindu, I kind of, because lots of people have asked me about the dot decoration. Do I have a kind of a computer program to work out the spacing and all the rest? And I wouldn't know how to do it, even if I could do it on a computer, and I don't want them to be so perfect either. I like that there's a bit of movement in the lines or the pattern, almost like in nature, because they're not, I like that kind of chance that things will move or look different from a different angle. So I don't want them to look too machine made, even though it's a bit of a contradiction, I think. Yeah, I'm contradicting myself here.
Questions from the group?
From anybody.
Yeah.
They're stunned.
Rita?
Hi, Rita.
Just on
Yeah, I'm good. Okay. Yeah, Grainne, we were lucky enough to go to your situation there with my husband, sister. I think it was 3 years ago before you moved into your little cottage.
That's right.
And I was several of your sculptures were around, and because you kind of started moving them into the area, and I thought, oh, I just can't wait to meet her on Zoom because I saw your stuff and then I knew where you were going to live.
Yeah.
That cottage is just divine.
Yeah, it looks better inside than it does outside.
Oh, well, the whole enclave is just fabulous.
Yeah.
It's just something like out of a fairy tale, like Elaine was saying, what we all strive for as we get older. And well, the studios were not quite up and go. I mean, they were kind of up and going, but not quite. And so it's nice to see that everything is like, and the residency as well. I mean, Tina had just decided on the name Strata.
That's right.
Which is such a great geological term.
Exactly.
Which is the highlight of the West Coast are the geological things along the ocean, you know, the cliffs and the smooth rocks and all. But I think it's so interesting that, you know, you say you can't break out of the tightness of the dots and all. Well, for one, I'm so glad that somebody's doing that, because I could never do that. I'm way too loose. But I just admire, you know, that you can meditate on a piece long enough to make that pattern. And it is not perfect, but that's the beauty of it. It's just so close to perfect with a hand. It's like the ancient Chinese vessels that were all decorated by hand. And there's so much tradition in that, actually. So are you going to be at NCECA?
No, unfortunately.
Darn. Well,
it's.
I would, if I were you, I'd stay in Ireland as well. Salt Lake City is not that great.
I'm kind of tied here at the moment. I have to visit. My mum is very elderly. She's 98, and so I go to see her every week for 2 days. So that kind of keeps me here, you know. So I'm happy to do that for now. So there'll be time for traveling. But I would love to go to NCECA. I mean, I hear about all the stuff that Tina and Elaine and the wonderful people they've met, and it's just fantastic. So I live vicariously through the two of them.
Well, you know. thank God they come to represent Ireland, and it's so important. But I gotta say, I just finished my new studio in Steamboat, and it took almost 8 years. But you know, I can just walk from my house over there. There's nothing like it.
I haven't had this, you know, having my studio so close to where I live for years. I've you know, since 2007 I've been renting studios, and they've always been pretty horrible. And this place has underfloor heating, which the two of us, it's still such a novelty. We nearly hug the floor when we come in the morning. It's great. But,
Diane, did you have a comment?
Elaine's studio actually inspired me to build mine. Just giving you that.
Okay. Great. Well,
go ahead, Diane.
Many happy years of making in it. Yeah.
Just a major, well, thank you. I'm sorry I was late to the party, but your work is absolutely stunning. I guess my question.
Thank you very much.
And I apologize because I didn't read the article working on finding alternative funding for all the nonprofits that have lost NEA grants. So I'm a little scattered. But as a writer on ceramics, one thing I always wonder is, what is your relationship with writers? And can you speak to any articles that have been written where you think the reporter kind of got it wrong, or used words that really speak to your philosophy and energy and vibrance? I mean, there's such life to your work. I wonder how you feel when you see the articles, you know, just words and images.
Yeah, I know what you mean. We were just discussing it before I came online here, and there isn't a huge tradition of critical writing here in Ireland. I think it's such a small pool of people, and there haven't been the publications really, apart from Ceramics Review in the UK. So I've been featured in that. One of our writers here, Frances MacDonald, she writes for the Irish Arts Review, which is mostly covers kind of fine art artists like painting and sculptors, well-established people, and they do a section on a design platform, and that's where they feature the crafts and the applied arts. But it's more kind of mentioning that exhibitions are coming up. But Frances MacDonald, she did a very nice article in, I think it's, I'll just find it now, issue 308 of Ceramic Review. And that was really nice. She kind of did a more in-depth trajectory of my path to ceramics, and you know, going from being a kind of a small domestic potter to selling on the international stage and winning awards and selling at Bonhams and things like that. So that was really good. And she kind of Yeah, I think she captured what I was about. The article that Roger Bennett, I know Roger Bennett so well. We're both kind of fans of each other's work. He does these beautifully fine wood-turned bowls with inlaid silver in them. They're just magical. He's also nuts about dots, but in a much more restrained way. So he knows me very well. We've done fairs together and that. So it was, his article was more personal, but also got the kind of the vibrancy and the passion that I have for the various types of work that I've made over the years. So, because I suppose doing the fairs together, he's seen my work evolve as well, the same way I've seen his. So, yeah, but in general, I think there could be more writing. You know, it would be great if there were more people prepared to write critically about Irish ceramics. But I think you see, we're a small country and a small number of artists, and generally we would know, everybody knows everybody. So I think they're probably, it's probably, yeah, you'd need to be brave to do it, I think, you know.
Okay, thank you so much. That's
Here.
beautiful.
On
Yeah.
that note, Grainne, is Ceramic Review doing any criticism or critical writing? Because their name, we've always said this, their name
Mm,
says that. And I know it's changed over the years and I haven't seen it for a while, but
yeah.
yeah.
I kind of stopped subscribing as well because it's, no, I wouldn't think it is terribly critical, you know, to be
Mhm.
honest. Like the piece that they did on me was a profile piece. So, and you know, it's great to have your work promoted, and it was all very complimentary, not over the top complimentary, you know, reasonably so, which was good. But yeah, no, I don't think there is a lot apart from, you know,
Yeah.
your magazines that you were producing and editing. Like, they were a more interesting read. And I think, anyway, personally,
Thank you.
you
And
know,
I think ceramics art and perception is still doing that to a certain extent.
yeah.
Writing is, Janet Koplos writes for them quite a bit. And I've seen Sebastian Blackie,
Yeah.
you know, they're doing some good writing
Yeah.
for yeah.
So it's improving all the time. Like, there's new makers and new writers coming up. So, and I think what Tina tries to do with the Ceramics Ireland magazine is give them a kind of a platform to write. Now, it's still very much covering people's work, but I suppose it's a start, it's a stepping stone to give them the confidence possibly to
Yeah,
write in more depth. I don't know. It is a tricky one here.
sure. But you know, and most of you know that my thesis was on this when I did my English MA, and it doesn't mean criticizing. It doesn't positive or negative, but it is, according to the articles that I reviewed, at least having about 50% of it be subjective. So they're not just doing the bio and the description of the work and all of that stuff that is pretty self-evident. It's more analyzing, using metaphor and simile and
Sure.
bringing themselves into the writing. And I ended up with the I guess result that if at least 50% needs, that the best writing is 50% being subjective, you know, that the
Yeah,
writer
I
brings
agree.
him or herself into the
Yeah.
picture. Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah. Anna?
I'm wondering in regards to that. I mean, we're talking about having writers. I just think we don't have enough journals, and specifically in ceramics. There's just not enough journals, and the ones we have the issue you're discussing, but just need, I mean, there's just not the number of there's not many choices if you are a writer, especially if you
Yeah.
want to do writing that is more quote unquote critical.
Yeah.
Where do you go? You know, I mean, you don't go to Ceramics Monthly. You know, it's
Our new ceramics,
or
they do
yeah,
very much,
yeah.
profile pieces as well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It is difficult.
You know, on that note, I recently in the past year wrote a pretty in-depth article on Bob Brady's work. Now,
Mm.
he does wood and ceramics. So I targeted American Craft.
Mm,
They do themes now. So if it doesn't fit their theme, it's, you know, but I never got an answer from them. I tried to get a hold of someone at Sculpture because he is a sculptor, and I thought it would be appropriate for that. It's an extensive article. And then Ceramics Now, which has, I think, about the largest circulation. I think they're at about 40,000 a month.
wow.
They don't do artist profiles. They do reviews. They do probably more critical stuff, but he really liked the article and it asked me to write an article on NCECA. So I figured, well, it wasn't my writing. It was that it just didn't fit his. So
Okay.
there aren't a lot of venues. And you know, when you think about it, it's the crafts that have the material specific magazines and journals. You know, they're
Yeah.
unless it's Western painting or something like that, but really the fine arts as we know them don't have material specific art
Yeah, that's true.
magazines.
Yeah.
And I wish there were more that were more open. You know, I don't like this idea of an entire theme, so it's not to other submissions, etc. But it's not easy to publish. I can send
Sure.
it to New Ceramics or to Tina or, you know,
Yeah.
but I want greater circulation for somebody like Bob Brady,
Yeah.
you know. Anyway, that's my piece. That's my frustration. But I do have an article, and again, this last month we had oh, help me. Shira Silverstone from Beniamini. And she has created an online magazine. So I sent an article to them and they are publishing it, and it is right from my thesis. It goes into what I decided through that thesis was good critical writing, and they're publishing it, and they pay $400, which is really good.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. She said,
Yeah.
I hope that's enough. And I thought,
Compared to the others, it's
yeah. So they're trying, and they just recently started translating into Hebrew. So I'm excited to see it in Hebrew.
Yeah. Can you send a link to that when it's published?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Be
No,
happy
I'd love
to.
to read that.
Billy, did you have something?
well, since you were mentioning magazines and whatnot, it's just a timely interest. It's not critical writing, but the Nora Eccles Harrison Museum of Art that I curate and write for and whatnot. In fact, I'm supposed to be writing labels for the NCECA show right now. But anyway, in the last came out, we got it about not quite 2 weeks ago, Ceramics, Art and Perception. There is an article on the 40-year retrospective I curated there, and you can get a nice overview. The collector's tour is coming up to the Nora Eccles Harrison, called NEMA,
Okay.
on Monday of the NCECA week. So
Oh,
all.
good.
Sounds
That's
good.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when
Yeah,
is NCECA? Is it next month?
It's
Mar-
the end of March. Yeah, the last week of March. Yeah. Yeah.
One of these years I'll get there.
Yeah.
Need to get there before I'm too old.
It's easier when it's on the East Coast for
Yes.
for you, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next year it'll be in Detroit, which is kind of the middle of the country.
Okay. Yeah.
Did you know that, Joe? I saw that look. That's great.
I
Are you?
hadn't tune that in. I'm a big Detroit booster. I'm not there anymore. I'm in Philadelphia, but
Oh,
my heart is very much in Detroit. And it's such a
Wow.
great town for that's just fantastic.
yeah. I have a daughter who lives there, so
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. We'll have to talk about that.
she's an orthopedic surgeon. So if you break
Okay.
a leg when you're there.
Don't
Okay.
mention broken legs.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
And on the Detroit subject, as I grew up right near Cranbrook, which is about 40 minutes from Detroit, for those of you going to NCCA the following year,
Yeah.
check out Cranbrook and its museum. And it's got such a great tradition and history of ceramics and Maya Grotel and everybody. But just
That campus has changed so much. The museum is huge. The studios are great. Yeah, I was there.
Architecturally important, the
Mhm.
campus as well. And my teacher's teacher was Maya Grotel, so I feel like I'm second generation Maya
that's
Grotel.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting because my grandfather in ceramics is Richard DeVore.
Mm. And he's also he and my William McCreth is my professor from Montclair State, New Jersey, and Tashiko. They're like all classmates. They
Yeah,
all were
yeah,
there at the same time, which is
Yeah.
really a remarkable group if you think about it. We actually, while I was an undergrad, Tashiko came and did a workshop, which she hardly ever does, but she did it for Bill. She did it for us, and she started a fire, to make her big pieces. She starts fires to dry them out, and
Okay.
studio we're all holding our breath for the police to the
Oh.
fire department to show up. But that was just one part of it. But it's a remarkable group that were there. That
Yeah.
school produced some really amazing people.
That's great. So, Grainne, speaking of incestuous, I didn't know, I didn't know that your initial mentor lives right next to your
Yeah.
facility. That's interesting. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and I
And
used to, as a young maker, he used to invite Bernard Leach's son, David Leach, and John Leach. They came here and did workshops. And I know when I was in my early 20s, I came down here to kind of visit them. And
great.
yeah, and he doesn't do ceramics anymore. He's into vintage cars. So
Oh,
yeah, but
yeah,
he's a very sprightly
yeah.
70 something.
Well,
Yeah.
and you could talk a little bit more about Kilkenny because it is a World Craft Council craft center. I don't,
Region of excellence.
yeah,
Yeah.
region of excellence. So it isn't just the prevalence of ceramics, but the metalsmithing, jewelry.
Yeah.
Talk a little
Glass
bit about
blowing. Yeah,
glass
we've a
blowing.
lot of glass
Yeah,
blowing. There's a couple of really good knife makers here that have just joined. We've a guy who's going to be joining our Made in Kilkenny group, which are a group of 30 full-time professionals here, and they're all based around the county of Kilkenny. And yeah, it's fantastic community. It's really, yeah, I can't speak highly enough of them. A lot of them I would have got to know throughout my career growing up.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of young makers as well, young ceramic artists here as well that have come out of the school that Gus ran.
Yeah, yeah,
So the good few of them have stayed around and are setting up studios here. So it's good.
that's
Some of them
great.
join us in Ceramics Ireland, and yeah, so
Mhm.
it's yeah.
I
Yeah,
was
it's
lucky enough to
better-
teach a workshop at the school.
Yeah. Well, the
For
school
Grainne.
is not anymore at the Pottery Skills
No,
is no longer at the mill.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Since
which is a
when
real
Wes
pity.
left, they
Mm.
moved it right into
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well,
Thomastown.
it hasn't been set up yet. There's still there's a few problems with the building and stuff. So it's there's been too long a break, so hopefully if they'll get it up and running in the next couple of years.
Yeah.
And it'll be a degree course when it sets back up. Before it
good.
was just a 2-year course. And they've
Yeah.
set up a jewelry academy as well, which is up and running in Thomastown as well. So there's that seems to be going well. So there's a nice, vibrant community, especially around Thomastown. And then you've Jerpoint Glass and out by the Jerpoint Abbey. And they have a number of craftspeople based in their kind of courtyard as well. So they've
Oh.
one of them is a wood turner, and they've jewelers and the glass blowers, and yeah, they get a lot of visitors there. So
That's a suburb of Kilkenny.
yeah,
Right.
it's about 15 minutes from here.
Yeah.
You can pack a lot in a couple of hours here. The distances are very short compared to the distances you guys deal with.
True.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I have no idea. Yeah, I think
Have
a
you been to
2 hour
the
drive.
States at all?
Oh, I have, but not for, I think the last time I was there was in the year 2000. Yeah.
Okay.
And I got snowed in for 10 days and then had to come home. So I didn't see anything. It was in
Yeah.
upstate New York, a place called Troutbeck. My brother lives there. So yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But with
That's
kids
good.
living in Europe and stuff, that's where I'm, I go visiting now to kind of Sweden and London. And so it's difficult.
Yeah, sure.
But
Yeah, that's
no,
great.
I'd love to get over and do a massive road trip, in the States.
Yes, it would
Visit-
have to be massive.
Yeah, it would.
But we could set you up with lots of ports in a storm,
Exactly. And I'd need to bring my assistants with me.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Well,
it's
thank you so much, Grainne, for doing
not
this.
at all. It was really nice to meet you all, and thanks for listening to me. I hope you enjoyed it.
There are some nice comments in the chat. Absolutely stunning. Sorry I was late. Thanks for this great opportunity to meet and see your work and hear directly from you. What a great presentation, beautiful work, lovely narrative as well. Oh, and Rita says there are terrific bakeries in Kilkenny too.
There are, yeah.
Love,
Yeah,
love,
we
love.
have to
her
stay away
color.
from them.
Yeah, yeah.
They're too
And-
tempting.
Yeah, and that's something that we didn't talk about, but Billy Sessions brings up the soft textures,
Mm,
and that's those velvet underglazes
yeah,
give that almost velvety.
yeah. They look
look
like
and-
that new book suede almost.
Yeah, suede is a good word
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah,
and
really
she
throws
said-
a lot of people, which
yeah,
is good.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I haven't really touched one. So,
Mm,
but is it the same as your little figures? Same
yeah,
texture?
but nicer. They're kind of, they're not as,
Yeah.
I don't spend as much time on them. But I found this really, have you heard of liquid quartz? It's a sealant for unglazed
Yeah.
work, and it kind of seals it from getting marked, which is great. Now it's expensive. It comes from Australia, but it's a really good thing that I found.
And what's it called again?
Liquid quartz.
Liquid
I'll
quartz.
send it to you in an email. Yeah,
Okay.
but it's
Good.
it just protects the work,
Yeah,
when it's being handled. So because
Yeah.
it is inclined,
that's
to
great.
pick up marks or grease.
And Rita wanted to know how the residency program is working out with your practice. Does it?
Well,
Yeah.
the residency program is Tina's baby. She, we've kind of divided the building up into 3 studios, and Tina runs the residency program in her studio. And she has a small studio where she's doing her own work when she gets a chance. So, but so far so good. I think there's somebody coming in a couple of weeks. There's 2 people coming in a couple of weeks, and she puts them up in the house as well. So they have the
Yeah,
use of the house and
That's
come
great.
over and work here and use the facilities. So, and I think there's another 2 American sisters coming in July. So, and then we have workshops.
Mhm.
When I say we, myself and Elaine are doing the catering for the handmade during the
great.
workshops.
Yeah,
And we get to kind of look in at things that are going on, which is great. So
that's great.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's really nice. It's a bit like we used to do these Ceramics Ireland festivals in the
Yeah.
Pottery Skills School,
Mhm.
and So we did it's kind of a smaller version of those. But so far they've been really well attended, and it's going
Good.
well. It's good.
Good.
Yeah.
And I none of us mentioned the fact that the compound, if you will, is actually walled on what, 3 sides?
3 sides. Yeah.
Yeah, 3 sides
Yeah.
are walled. So it's
Mm.
nicely contained. It's like their own
Yes.
little village in there. It's really nice in that way too. So
Yeah.
it's
And I
good.
hope we'll see some of you over here on your tour.
Yeah.
That'd be great. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, it'll be
Yeah,
fun.
there'll be a lot to see, certainly in Kilkenny and around the rest of the country.
Yeah.
So that'll be good.
Okay. She's referring
Yeah.
to, Tina and I have been talking about putting together a ceramics tour of Ireland,
Oh,
which I think would be really nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
yes.
For the, yeah, for the artists who are a little farther out, and again, Ireland isn't a huge country, so,
No.
you know, we can get around to
mean,
quite a bit.
You can drive across it in 3.5 hours, coast to
Yeah.
coast.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Tina will organize an exhibition of the work of those artists who are farther afield of where we'll be.
Mm.
So we need to get on that and do it.
Yeah.
Please put me on your
No.
list.
Okay, that's
I
great.
went a couple years ago and was more than mildly frustrated with the people I was with and what they wanted to see and what I wanted to see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Would
Yeah.
love to do that.
yeah,
Yeah. It would be great to do with like-minded people, you know.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And we talked, the way we kind of laid out an initial schedule was to have a couple of, I don't know if it was 2 days or something, but some free time in Kilkenny. So that if you wanted to see jewelers or glass or whatever else, there is a lot to see there. So
Yeah.
there'll be free time for that kind of thing. Yeah.
Great.
Great,
keep
and
you
my
posted.
name as well.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Diane?
It sounds great. Add my name as well. Yeah.
Okay, well, what I'll do when we get things firmed up is to send something out to Critical Connections. Yeah, because maybe people elsewhere would want to join us as well. So, well, again, Grainne, thank you so much. And
I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
good,
It's
good. You did a
great.
great job. Yep,
Thank
I'll be
you.
in touch. Okay,
All right. Good
Uh-huh.
night. Well,
bye-bye.
good night here.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye. I don't know how to get out of this now.
Well, just go down to the right-hand corner,
Oh, at the right-hand corner.
bottom right.
Oh, leave. See you. Lovely to see you, Elaine.
Same here.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
See you, Rita.